what we're looking at today is our topic 4, and in the little topic 4 video that hopefully you've had a chance to watch, we were looking at word positions and we were looking at where a sound might be in a word position. If I type in Jane, we can see that I have a J word initial position and an N word final position. So let's have a look at Alison. Now for Alison, we don't have an initial consonant, so we would say we have L word medial position and N word final position. So Jane and Alison both have N word final position. Let's look at Liesl. Liesl, you have an L word initial position and an S word medial position. And you have an L word final position. So you can see that we're focusing on the consonants, aren't we? Janine has a J word initial position, like Jane, an N word medial position, and an N word final position. So if we look at Janine and Jane, they start with the same consonants and they end with the same consonants. Kim, one syllable word. Kim has a K word initial position and an M word final position. Taylor has a T word initial position. Taylor. Now it's not a Y because the Y is not being a consonant there, is it? Taylor. So that's T-A, L. So it's a L word medial position. And is there a final consonant? No. So when we talk about word positions, we're referring to consonants. We're not referring to vowels as well. Kita, we can see we've got a K word initial position and a T word medial position, but no consonant on the end because your name ends with a vowel. K, E, T, A. So initial K and medial T. So we're having a look at, in topic 4, we're having a look at how we go with where sounds are in a word. And the reason for that is we're getting ready to start actually delivering our articulation programs. And if we're going to deliver our articulation programs, then we need to know like what position in the word we want to do the sound. Because if someone said, oh, they can't make K, what's really interesting is the K sound, like the K, it's often correct in the middle of words and the end of words, but not correct at the start. And that's quite funny, isn't it? Why would a child be able to say a sound in some word positions and not others? Well, it's because when you say sounds, your tongue has to come from either a resting position, like when I say car, you watch what happens. Car. So can you all just be saying nothing and then start and say car? Car. So the very first thing your articulators do is move to the K. But now can you say book? So say nothing. Book. So by the time you get to the K in book, everything's already in action. It's a bit like driving a car. Getting in from neutral or park into first can be that little bit harder. Whereas if you're already going first to second, it's smooth, isn't it? So middle sounds and final sounds might be easier. Sometimes they're harder. It actually depends. And you don't have to know which one because you'll get told, this is the best program to use. What your job would be is to be on the lookout for, am I working on the sound at the start or in the middle or in the end? And one of the things you'll get good at is actually thinking about when someone says, here's a sound and here's a word position. Can you think of some words? So should we do that as a little warm-up activity as well? And if I said to you, I want to have a K, the K or the C, word initial position, 5 words. Can you just jot 5 words down? What would you come up with? K, word initial position. So we've got K, word initial position. Now, I'm really good at this because I've been doing it for so long. So don't panic if you're like, oh, I don't know. But, oops, that's a bit too small now. But you'll get the hang of it. All right, so see if you got any of the same as me. Car, key, oops, cake, card, come. Get the idea? So it's just any word where you can have k at the start. Now, if I said to you, oh, this child needs to work on F, on f, they can't get it at the start of the word at all, but they can get it at the end. So can you work on f, word final position, because we want it to be easy for them. F, word final position. All right, now this is a little bit harder, but can you think of some words that have f in word final position? I'll start typing a few, see if you agree with any of mine. Off, roof, laugh, leaf, cough. Look at that, the spelling's not always an F, is it? Interesting. And let's do one more. What if I said they're working on the L sound, the liquid L, word medial position, like in Taylor's name. Taylor, word medial position. This is even harder again. If you're going, oh, I'm drawing a blank, I'm not surprised, because we don't walk around thinking about the sounds in the middle of words. We're more interested usually in the start, and sometimes we can hear the end. But I wonder if you thought of any of these. Hello, pillow, yellow, ballet, colour. Get the idea? So, like I said, you won't have to decide what the child, which position the child needs, because usually you'd be working in with a speech pathologist or a teacher and they'd recommend it. But if you can work it out, that's also fine. The thing to be aware of is that when you're asked to do an articulation program, it not only will it be a sound, but it will also be a word position. Get the idea? Yeah. Okay, we can all see the topic 4 booklet. There we go. So we're looking at moving up and down the steps in a program and being ready to use contingencies. So moving up and down the steps might mean going from something like, we'll work on k just by itself. Can you make the k sound? And then can you make k in a CV, like can you say car, key, and even nonsense ones, kai, ku. And then can you say it in words with one syllable? Car, key, card. And then the next step might be, can you say it in a little phrase? I can jump, I can sing. So this is this idea of moving up and down. And then being ready to use contingencies is what to do when something goes wrong. Have a little think yourself in life. Do you think every day you have to apply a contingency? Yeah, people are nodding. Like this morning, my backup laptop, where I can see the view that you can see, wouldn't charge. So my contingency was find an old computer out in the back, try and remember the password, plug it in. That's what I mean by contingency. If you didn't use a contingency, what happens? You just sit there and go, and you kind of get stuck, and actually things can deteriorate. Yeah. And yeah, so contingency, it may be a word that you're used to using. In speech pathology, we use the word contingency, and we use it for 2 reasons. We use it when the task we've chosen is too easy or too hard. And so if it's too easy, like we're not really getting anywhere because we're asking them to do something. Let's say we said, let's work on colours, you know, is this red, is this yellow? Well, if they knew all their colours, that's not achieving anything. So we might go, oh, well, I needed a contingency because I thought they didn't know their colours, but they do. So I'll have to do something else. So contingencies are about making something easier or harder. But the other way for contingencies, which I really like, which I think is important, is when you sit down with a client to help them and they don't like what they're doing. It's not that it's the wrong level, it's that they don't like it. So for an adult, it might be you've picked a topic, let's talk about climate change, and you've hit a raw nerve, and then you're like, oh. Now you get that when you go out for dinner, don't you? Like you might be at the table and you bring up something and then you go, oh, like at the moment it might be, are you getting the COVID-19 vaccine? And then you're like, abort. But with a client, what about with a child? So you might go, great, guess what? I've got lots of dinosaurs and we're going to cut out the pictures of the dinosaurs and we're going to make the t sound like for tail. And then the child goes, I hate dinosaurs. They're just so dumb. And you're like, I've got half an hour of activities about dinosaurs. And then they start ripping up your dinosaur pictures. This is all stuff that's happened to me. So now the contingency isn't, it's too easy or too hard. It's like, so then you might go, guess what? They're not dinosaurs. They're lizards that woke up and looked strange. And they might go, oh yeah, I love lizards. And you're like, great, yeah. And each lizard has a name that starts with like Ted, yes. And now you've used your contingency and you haven't had to abandon. Those of you that work with little kids or around little kids, your whole life can be about that. You know, like where they go, I don't want the red cordial. He got the red one and I want the yellow one. And you're like, oh, I know I can't get the yellow one. So then you have to kind of like go, oh, it's not red. It's like a purpley color. And they're like, oh, that's fine then. And that's another example, isn't it? So we have to do that in speech pathology. One of the reasons why we have to have contingencies and we have to be ready to move up and down is because when you work with a client, it's not like just being at home and living with them. And then you go, oh, let's do that speech practice. And they're like, oh, I'm not in the mood. And you're like, okay, well, let's do it in a couple of hours. What happens when you work with someone with a program? Probably had an appointment. Or if you're in a preschool, you know, you've been told at 11 o'clock, can you go and get Jamie, take him to the green table, and can you work on the speech program? And so we need contingencies because we have to do it then. And can you see, for speech pathologists or for yourself in your role, you might be in a paid role. And imagine if you had to ring the parent and go, oh, yeah, no, Jamie didn't want to do it today. So I said, yeah, that's fine. And they're like, oh, okay. And then the following week, yeah, no, Jamie still didn't want to do it. Yeah, so, you know, I didn't want to push him. He didn't want to do it. Well, that's a problem, isn't it? So as a speech pathologist or as a paid person, or even as a parent who's like, but, you know, I got babysitting for the other kids and I need to do it now. We have to be creative. So we have to be able to move up and down our steps and use contingencies so that we can go, even though you think you don't want to do this, you do, because this is the best thing ever. And a good example is I had a client that never wanted to do anything that I asked, and I've just got a couple of little props here. And he just wouldn't do anything. So every single thing I did, I had to say, this is a spaceship and this is a planet. And as long as it was a spaceship landing on a planet, he would do it. So we were working on spelling. So I'd have a picture of a word and just a piece of paper, and as long as the word landed on the paper and I said it was a spaceship landing on a planet, he would happily do it. I got totally sick of it, but he never did. For weeks and weeks and weeks, he just thought it was great. I wonder if you're a creative person and a flexible person. Do you think that would come easily to you? Sometimes people think they're creative and flexible, but they're not. And I'll give you an example. You might do this course and go, oh, I love what Jane said about that. Yeah, I might do the spaceship and the planet. And then you might go, I might cut some out tonight and I might colour them in. And then you might go, I got a laminator from Kmart. I might laminate them. And you're so excited and you're looking forward to it. And then you get there and you go, guess what? We're going to get the words and they're going to fly and land on the planet. And then the kid goes, well, that's dumb. And you're like, ah. Now your training tells you, that's okay, put that away and do something else. But you're so invested and you're like, no, we're going to play with it. And then people persist. Yeah. And so then you find out, oh, I thought I was flexible. And I've actually had adults who are speech pathology students come and do placements. And I've talked about this and they're like, oh, yeah, no, I'd be fine. If they didn't like it, I would do a contingency. And I've seen an adult chase a child around a room going, you will play with the resource I made. And I had to go in and stop the session and go, you know what? You're 27 and that child is 4, and in a minute they will have a tantrum and they will have won. So yeah, so it's fascinating, isn't it? So just be thinking about this concept, because I didn't want to teach you all how to deliver articulation programs and then it all becomes derailed because you are very invested in how you want to do it. It's got to be all about what the client thinks and what they like. And yeah, that's what today's topic's about. So I have a little video that I've made about this poster and it goes for 18 minutes. And what I'm going to do afterwards is I'm going to send it all to you because I took my time to make the video and edit it. And I think I sort of captured the sentiment. I'm going to just talk very briefly about this now, but then I'll send you the video of the background of where this poster came from and what it's all about. But basically in topic 4, we're starting to look at this idea of we have to be ready to move up and down, and we have to be ready to be flexible and change tasks, because we need to keep our client in the okay zone. And whenever we're working with them on, it could be the sh sound word medial position. It could be the sound word final position in sentences. Like we're saying, I can go on the bus. I can ride on the horse. So it's a sentence and it's a word position and it's a sound. Whenever we're working on it, we don't go, oh, they're really behind or they're really frustrated. I'm just going to jump to the hard sort of level and see if I can push them along. It never works. It never works in speech pathology, because people who are already a little bit fragile, a little bit disheartened, generally don't respond to being pushed or being asked to do something hard. People who are really successful learners, who can just take everything in their stride, they've had lots of history of success, they sometimes rise to the challenge of, oh, that's really hard, got to keep trying, got to keep trying. But when you're working with someone on a speech pathology program, it's probably the opposite. They probably know that they can't make the sound. And if you start asking them to do things that are too hard, they're going to really react. So we actually try to work in this okay zone. And in the okay zone, it's 8 or 9 out of 10. And in topic 4 today, we're going to look at how we tell if we're working at the right level or whether we need to move backwards to an easy level, or whether actually they've mastered it now and we can move up to something that's a bit harder, but not hard as in too hard, but still within that okay zone. So what happens is we ask someone to do something. Maybe we're asking them to say p at the start of words like pig and pear and pipe. And they couldn't really get it all right. They were getting about 8 out of 10 right. And we kept working with them. And now they're getting 10 out of 10. So it's easy. Can you see that? They've gone into the yellow zone. So then we need to go, right, we'll make it a little bit harder. Now, instead of saying pig, let's say big pig or purple pig or happy pig. So we're putting it into 2 words. And then they're only getting about 8 out of 10 right because they're having to concentrate. So they're back in this okay zone. So that's really good. And we keep just going, yep, they've got that one. Once it's 100% and they've got it right, then we can improve, we can increase the goal again. So we need to be thinking about, have we got the client in that okay zone? Then what happens is we might go, oh, great, they were so good at that. They could say pig and pink pig. Now I'm going to do long sentences. I'm going to ask them to say, can you pour the cup of tea? And let's imagine before they weren't saying p, they were saying the loud b. So we say, can you say this? Can you pour the cup of tea? And now the sentence is so long, they go, oh, can you bore the cup of tea? And you're like, oh, well, let's try that again. Don't forget pour. And they go, can you bore the cup of tea? And you have to say, oh, not quite. See if we can get the p. And they say it again. Can you bore the cup of tea? And then you're going, oh. Now suddenly it's hard. It's too hard. If they're only getting 7 out of 10 correct, or maybe 5 out of 10 correct, or maybe 1 out of 10 correct, before too long, you're going to start to see these signs appear. They might doubt themselves. So they might go, oh, I can't do this. No, I knew I couldn't do it. And with an adult, you know, sometimes you even get a swear word, or they turn their back on you. With a child, I've seen them rip things up, or they might just have that self-doubt where they just, you know, even say, like I had someone yesterday say, I'm so stupid, me stupid. And that's really upsetting, isn't it? So we don't want to really let that happen. Can you see the turnaround sign here? So in between green and red, I've got a turnaround sign. And what I'm saying is, if you notice that your client is only getting 7 out of 10 right, or less than that, turn them back around to the okay zone. Go back a step. For that client that was going, I can bore the drink, we'd say, I know, why don't we just say pour drink? Let's just say 2 words, pour drink. Oh, okay, I think I can do that. Pour drink. Yes, right, well done. Once you've got them back in that okay zone, you can praise them. You can give them a tick. They can go, oh, good, got it. Can you all do that with your fist and go me, go me, just try that. Doesn't that feel good? Go me. Now come down to the red zone and imagine you've just got it wrong. I'm going to say it to you now. Wrong, wrong, stupid, no good. Try and do go me now. You can't, can you? Oh, isn't it interesting? We can go from okay zone to hard zone really quickly. So in speech pathology, we just stay out of that zone because we know that we can lose people really quickly. They get nervous, they refuse to do it, they avoid. If you go to see them for their program the next time, hi, so good to see you. And they're like, you know, they're not happy to see you. So we're going to look all at that today. The very hard or impossible zone, let's just take a moment to think about that. In this zone, failure is guaranteed. Do you think yourself, would you ever go, I'm going to do a program with someone and I know they won't be able to do it, and everything I ask them to do, they'll fail at, and I'll be like, oh, well, you're probably going, I would never do that. And I'm sure you're right that that's how you feel. You would never do it. But let me just stop the share. But you know what's a bit scary is I see people do that all the time. I see a parent bring a child in and the parent's feeling embarrassed or guilty or under pressure, and they bring the child in for an assessment and they might go, oh, yeah, they don't know colours, but I've been teaching them the colours at home. I've been teaching them this is yellow. And they'll say to the child, show Jane, what colour's this? And the child goes, blue? No, remember, we did it yesterday. What colour is it? Oh, green? No, come on. He does know. He just doesn't want to do it now. What if that child doesn't know it's yellow and that parent keeps persisting? The parent has put their child in the black zone, not on purpose, not because they're nasty, but because the parent's dealing with their own issues, aren't they? And yeah, I could ask you to raise your hand. Some of you, I can't see your video, but just internally in your mind, just, you know, raise your hand and go, I've seen that. I've seen parents say to a child, stop crying, when the child couldn't possibly stop crying. I developed that poster because I saw high school teachers hand out tests to high schoolers, year 8, 9, and 10, and go, anyone that doesn't at least attempt this test is not going out at recess. You have to at least get a paragraph down, and they've put it down in front of people. And some of those kids can't even write a sentence. And when I've done a workshop for teachers, I've said, like I did a workshop once for 30 teachers, and I said, raise your hand if you've given out tasks to students that you know they cannot do. And nearly everyone put their hand up. And this one lady said, can you help me? She said, I come to work every day and I demoralize my students and I don't know what to do about it. And when we looked at it, she said, oh, it's because I have to give them this curriculum. It's really shocking, isn't it? It's really shocking. So now if we go back to that poster and you see the black zone, you're probably, rather than going, oh, Jane probably didn't really need to put that on there because, you know, who would do that? You're now probably going, wow. And we even do it to ourselves too. And when we do it to ourselves, let's have a quick think about what we do. And then this is our warm-up activity, which, you know, we will finish in a minute, but I really want to do it. I want you to think of when you put yourself in the easy zone, what does that feel like? That means you're going to do something that you know you can do. Let's say you're having a tough day, you've got some negative thoughts in your head, and then you're like, well, I know I enjoy vacuuming. I know I've got a vacuum that's going to work. And I know when I put music on, I like it. So for you, that might be something that you do. For someone else, that might be hard, but that's something for you. For me, it will be, oh, I'm going to walk outside with my dogs. So the easy zone is something where you build your own confidence and you know it's going to put you in the right mood to be willing to go on to the next thing, which is a bit challenging. So have a think for yourself what that would be like. And do you agree that you can do it each time? It's almost automatic. It could be something that's automatic. And it says here, engage all students. That might be if it was you and a couple of people, you'd pick something. Well, it's the group. Like Janine's watching and she's got 2 boys. She might go, I'm going to do something that I know all of us love. It's watching Harry Potter, okay? So it could be just for yourself or the people in your group. But you know that this is going to set you up so that soon you'll be able to move into the next level. Maybe it's like, I'll sit down and have a cup of tea and make a list, and that's easy for me and I like it, and I've got my special pen, and then I'll be ready to tackle that assignment or that video that Jane's asked me to watch. Okay, so now think about something that's just okay for you. When it's okay, it means you don't get it perfect. It's not easy. You have to work at it. But when you sit down, because you're psyched up, you're pleasantly surprised. You go, you know what, I am doing this. This could be like when you're doing the quiz. You're like, oh, I didn't really want to do it, but I got it out. I printed it. That was my easy zone because I love printing. And now I've looked at it and you know what? I can. This is the zone where we get a sense of achievement. And this is where we learn and we find out about ourselves and we feel good. And it builds resilience for having to do things hard because we're able to tell ourselves, well, like, there is stuff I can do, I can. And this is a really important headset. Okay, something hard. I actually went to a motorbike class a few weeks ago to support my sister. I've never sat on a motorbike in my life. And I had to sit on this bike and follow all these instructions, and it was a hot day. And I definitely was not getting 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 things right. And the instructor was even going, Jane, you're not looking. Jane, your head's in the wrong place. Jane. And I could just feel my confidence go. I wasn't learning, I wasn't retaining, and I didn't go back. So you might think of something you've tried to do lately. Maybe you enrolled in a course. Maybe you tried to work out a new program on the computer. Maybe you got a vacuum cleaner and you just couldn't work out how to assemble it. So now it's just in the back of a cupboard somewhere. And what about very hard or impossible? Something that you once tried and you have this attitude of, I'm never doing that again. Yeah, I wonder what that's been like listening to that. So you can think of it for yourself, and you can even think of it for yourself when you're delivering an articulation program. Like imagine if you do this course and you're like, great, Jane's showing me what to do, and you pick up the program. If you go, I'm going to do this whole program, all the steps, I'm going to make sure the client gets it right, and you walk in and the client doesn't like it, You might find yourself in the red zone straight away going, or the black zone, you might go, oh, actually, I'm not going to do that anymore. Wouldn't that be such a shame? It'd be so much better if you started in yellow and just took one thing to work on and then moved into, I'll try this. I'm not sure how it'll go, but I'll try this. Well, that there are some people that seem more resilient. So what I want to say is, to sort of cut to the chase, if you're working on someone with an articulation program, the chances are they're feeling a bit bad about themselves, because even little 2 and 3-year-olds, we've noticed, they know if they can't speak. And if they're an adult that's lost their speech through an injury or a disease, how must their self-esteem feel? How must their frustration feel? The last thing they need is to be asked to do something they can't. So it might seem counterintuitive. Well, why would you ask them to do something that they can? But actually, when we start with something that we can do, we get ready to tackle the things that we can't. And this is the mindset that we want to take. Those kids that seem to be able to persist, they've probably had lots and lots of success. And therefore, if they can't do something, they're like, well, that doesn't define me. But those ones that just face down on the floor the minute they get it wrong, or, throw it at you, maybe they've had so much failure and no one's really held their hand and taken them through it, that it's just overwhelming. So when you deliver an articulation program, the good news is you stay in the yellow zone with your client so that they like you and trust you and feel safe and they're ready to open up. And then you go into the green zone where we're always just taking them along just that little bit, but we don't confront them and we don't make it too hard. And if a parent is making it too hard by going, what color is it? What color is it? We then go, well, now the parent is in the hard zone, aren't they? And then we go, right, now I need to take some time to help the parent get into the yellow zone. Do you think this would help the parent get into the yellow zone? If I said, do you know what? I really like how you're helping your child to learn the colors. And what I like most of all is you've brought them to speech therapy, because I actually have some techniques that I can show you. And I think that's going to make a difference. Would you like maybe to sit down and I can go through that with you, and we can let your child play with these toys while I'm telling you? I've taken the pressure off the parent. Now they're in the yellow zone. So when you're working with someone, if there's a parent or a carer or an observer there, and they're escalating and they're actually making your job harder, then take a moment to go, oh, that person's in red or black, and settle them. And keep reflecting on yourself. If you have a parent go, what, I mean, I came in here and you can't even get my child to sit at the table. Which zone are you in now? Positive. Okay. This first handout here, we don't really need to go through it because it was what you would have read and it was what was in the video. And it's really just looking at the sounds being in isolation, word initial position, word medial position, and word final position. And that's pretty straightforward. But what I'll do, just in case any of you have now gone, no, I'm in the red, I don't know what that means. Can you see how you can apply it? Let's just get everyone in the yellow or the green, and get your piece of paper. And we're going to see if you can do it. This will be a task for you in the green. You're going to see if you can go, yeah, I can. Could you write something that you drive and it's got k in word initial position? K, word initial position, car. Now, could you write the k just in isolation? There you go, in isolation. Something that you read that has pages and it's got k word final position. And it's a book. Something you might wear if it's cold, it's got 2 syllables, starts with j, and it's got k word medial position. 2 syllables, starts with j. In the middle, and it's jacket. Okay? Anyone get 4 out of 4? If you got 4 out of 4, you're in your yellow zone, or you might have had to work at it, you're in your green zone. If you got 3 out of 4, which is 1 wrong, you're sort of in that cusp between red and green. So you're most likely okay. But if you only got 2 out of 4 in that task, that's 50%. That would put you in red and you'd be going, oh, everyone seemed to know it and I didn't. So have a think about whether you got 4 out of 4, 3 out of 4, 2 out of 4. In topic 12, the whole topic is devoted to this idea of why we have behaviour problems and why we have disengagement. And as I said, I actually designed this 4 years ago for high school. Poor kids, they spend every day walking around going, I can't. And when speech pathology is asked to come and intervene, we're often so successful because we go straight away, what can you do? And we build their confidence. And then what's the next step of what you can do? And we have these high school students who are shut down. They just open up, or these primary students. And then we go to the principal or the class teacher and we go, look what they achieved. And what's so fascinating is the teacher will often go, well, they've never done that for me. And you know what? I once had a special ed teacher. And when I say these stories, it's never to be a put down on anyone. It's not a judgment. It's just an observation. So I had a special ed teacher. Her whole job was to help the students that said I can't and that they don't try. Some students sit there and they don't do anything for the whole lesson. And she said, oh, when you work with this guy, let's just call him John. He was 15, taller than me. He probably won't do anything. And I said, oh, okay. And she wanted him to do some basic spelling and writing. So I came back and I showed her he'd done half a page. And she goes, are you sure? How did you get him to do that? And do you know what I said? I said, oh, I just made it easy for him and I supported him. And once I made it easy, he could do it. Okay. Once I made it easy, he could do it. Do you know what the teacher said to me? She said, well, we can't just go around making it easy for them. And I went, do you want to stop and think about that? And she stopped and then she went, yeah, I think you're onto something. Isn't that interesting? So parents sometimes have that mindset of when the child comes in for speech therapy and we go, we're just going to make it easy. We're going to play a game and make it easy. Sometimes a parent will be, no, they know they're here to work. No, they know they're here to work. And so parents might have a mindset of it has to be hard because maybe that's how they were brought up. And yeah, speech pathology has this, I almost call it magical. It's like it's magical. And that's why I wrote the poster, because one day I went, why are we getting it? Lots of other people aren't. And it's because at university, we're actually taught, don't ever go beyond the 8 out of 10 right. Just stay in that zone. And when you put people in that zone, they can do all sorts of wonderful things. And high schools have just lost the plot. And I feel so sorry for those kids. And they are right. They need validating. If they go, I think everyone can do this and I can't, and they sit there and they do nothing, they need to be told, you're right, because you're being given work that's at the wrong level. Yeah, so look forward to topic 12. We're going to go into that in a lot of detail. And I'm going to end up with a course all on this one day. So it's really fascinating, isn't it? Yeah, it's really mind-blowing. And this is kind of my signature thing, I think. Yeah, because I've seen so many people learn how to deliver articulation programs. Like, you know, Ali, you might go, great, I've got all these programs and all these kids. And if I haven't really reassured you to go in at the right level, after a month you go, yeah, none of it worked. Now, I showed the child these pictures and I came back the next day and she couldn't do them, so it's not working. Now, I'm not suggesting you would have done that, but can you see that a lot of people do? Like within 5 seconds, they go, it's not working. And it's just because they hadn't learned to be at the right level. Yeah, it's really, really great, this stuff, isn't it? We've been talking about consonant clusters a little bit, and I've just got here a word of caution. When we are working on sounds, if a speech pathologist says, can you work on at word initial position, then it has to be things like for and fun, but it can't be free and frog, because then it's an F and an R. So you need to be on the lookout for consonant clusters. So that's just a little reminder, and we'll keep focusing on that on every topic as we go through. This poster here at the top is just sort of a summary of what I've been talking about. So you can go back and have a look at that. And this next bit here, I'm just going to read through these comments because this is what we do. And we have permission to do this. And I'm going to give you permission to do this, okay? Sometimes that's all we need is someone to give us permission. So for the easy zone, hang on, let's just get that in the middle. There we go. For the easy zone, I give you permission whenever you're working with a client, an adult or a child, to start easy, build trust and confidence, and have fun, and spend as much time in that easy zone as you need. Just like if you're having a bad day and you go, all I can do is get out of bed and have my cup of tea for the next 2 hours, I can't even get dressed. If that's what you need to do, that's what you do. If you're working with a child and they need to play 3 games of stack up the cups and knock them down to keep in a positive frame of mind, then you take that time. Because if you skip this step, it's counterproductive. Okay, you can't put someone into the green zone just by pushing them or yelling at them. All right, what do we do with the green zone? We move our client into the okay zone when they're ready, and we work at their pace, and we stay in that okay zone, and we check that they're getting nearly all of it right. 80% or 90% means nearly all of it. If they're getting nearly all of it right, the key thing is they can do it. And they just need more time, more practice, more repetition. Maybe they need feedback. Yes, you're getting it right. Yes, that's it. Another one. Yes, amazing. You are doing it. Oh, that one wasn't quite right. That's okay. Let's try again. Yes. It's that zone of I can, and building. And I'm going to be teaching you how to do that. Our red zone, as speech pathologists, we watch out for a sign that it's too hard. Even 7 out of 10 is too hard for people that aren't resilient, because that could be 3 wrong in a row. Just have a feel. Now, I want you to feel what happens when my feedback changes. Let's imagine you've said it. I'm just going to do, I'm just going to shake this as like that's the thing. So shake it. Yes, correct. Yes, you're getting it. Fantastic. That's it. Great. Okay, try again. Not quite. No, that's not. Try again. Okay. Yeah. All right. Now you seem to have lost it. Can you feel your attitude changing? Yeah. And this is what happens. If someone's getting 7 out of 10 or 5 out of 10 right or 2 out of 10 right, you aren't able to do that. Yes, yes. And you start to lose them. So if that happens, you just go back a step. Let's change it. Let's not have it that you shake it. Let's have it that you just hold it on your hand and touch it. Yes, that's it. Try it again. Ah, you've got it. Fantastic. Can you do it again? Brilliant. Maybe that was the yellow zone. That was the thing I knew they could do. I've resettled them. Okay, ready for the shake one? Yep. Yes, now you've got it. Excellent. What a great job shaking. Yeah. And it allows you to be upbeat. So speech pathologists actually have really happy lives and love their work because we just stay in this really positive zone. A client might go into the red zone themselves. So you might go, can you touch it? Yep, perfect. Can you touch it? Yep, that's it. And then, can you touch it? And then they go, and then you're like, almost. And they're like, oh, I knew I couldn't. Someone that's got no resilience. And you might go, oh, I wish I hadn't said almost. I wish I'd just waited. Okay. Sometimes it's that tiny thing. And now they're in the red zone. But that's okay because we have our contingencies, don't we? If we find that they're suddenly in the red zone, that's okay. We're like, that's all right. We might go, that's okay. I actually finished that one anyway. We're going to try this one now. We're just going to do some squeezing on this one. So we get them out of that. Oh, good. Yes. Oh, you're great at that. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, I'm using objects, not speech, just to illustrate. Although sometimes I will give them something to squeeze because that's a settling task. Look at the black. What does a speech pathologist do? What can you do? So I give you permission to do this if you find them in the black. Stop instantly. Even have a break. Never stay there. Some examples of what I might do is go, do you know what? I've got this other game and I was going to leave it to the end, but let's get it now. All right. Or I might go, I'm just going to go and make a cup of tea. Would you like one? If it's the parent that's gone into the black zone, maybe the parent's shouting at the child, hey, would you like a cup of tea? Perhaps you didn't get one beforehand. So you're ready to just instantly stop that before the person really melts down. If we're too slow to do that, these are the sorts of things that can happen. Whoosh, all the toys on the floor. Full on face down tantrum. I've had older clients grab me. I had a client once grab me so hard, dug their nails in, and I knew I'd made an error. I'd had them in the hard zone. I was so sure they were going to get it that day. I was so sure they were going to turn their voice on because they couldn't make voiced sounds. And I went, oh, that's 2 wrong in a row. Oh, that's 3 wrong in a row. And you know what? And I went, I think it's there. And I pushed a 4th time and I pushed a 5th time. And then the client, who was nonverbal, pointed up at the clock. And I went, yep. And I was about to stop. I knew what to do. And the dad goes, no, 10 more minutes. And I tried one more, and this client latched on and drew blood. And then he ran out of the clinic. It was awful. And I went, I need to take some accountability for that. I knew I was in the red zone. I knew when Dad did the time that was probably going to push him into the black. I needed to act faster. Okay. So that's why you don't go, I'll just see what happens. If they're in the black, get out of that zone. Okay. How do we do these things? How am I going to teach you to do these things? Well, it's about having a plan. It's about having a plan. So speech pathologists walk into a session with a plan. Sometimes that plan will be written down, and sometimes it's in their head. When you first start, if you go and do an articulation program, I suggest you have it written down. Even if you think, oh, this will be fine, because you want to have your contingencies written down. If they're like just went whoosh and threw everything off the table, you don't want to be going, oh, what was I going to do as a backup? You want to be able to scan down and be going, oh, that's right, I was going to turn it into a spaceship, and you want to be ready. So we plan the activities and we follow the signs and we use contingencies. Do you want to just be having a bit of a think about that? And I'm going to bring up some sheets just to show you, because the first thing was we not only do we plan, but we plan in groups of 10. Okay, so this is a page here that you can read through, but let me bring up some sheets to talk about. And you might be going, well, how do I know the percentages? So I'm just going to show you that. If we're going to ask a client to work on a sound, let's say it's the g sound, like in girl. And let's say they can't say g, they're saying d. So for gate, they say date. Can you open the date? You know that they mean open the gate, but they're saying open the date. If you're like, right, I'm going to work on the g sound, instead of going, oh, I'll just have some random lists of words starting with g, get a list of 10. If you have a list of 10, and as you're asking them to say it, you can be working out right or wrong. You could be sorting the piles or marking some symbols. And at the end, if they got 6 out of 10, then you know it's 60%. Okay. That's actually pretty straightforward then, isn't it? And if you have out of 10, I'm sure you'd agree, you know, most of us would be able to do that. We'd be able to go, that was 6 out of 10. And then we'd be able to go, that means that was 60%. I remember Jane saying, even though 60% seems pretty good, that's the hard zone. So even though I'm like, oh, that seems all right, I know I'm not going to stay there. Okay. So this is part of our planning. And when we get speech pathology programs, they often are in groups of 10 and it's all been done for us. But if they're not, if they're in groups of say 12, well, I can't work out percentages from 12, just like that. So I would just take 2 items out. Or if there's 8 items, I might do 2 items twice. Okay. So that's our first little strategy. Here we go. So now we've got our person that's working on voiceless. I'm going to send these through to you. I'll put them up on Moodle as well. But you could even give this a try. You could sit down with someone and say, could you read these words or could you say them after me? And if they say think, you'd be like, that's correct. Thank, that's correct. Thongs, that's correct. Fought, like a fort. So, that one wasn't right. Thick, yep, that was right. Thin, that was right. 30, you notice some adults say 30 instead of 30. Oh, that one was wrong. Thumb, that was right. Thief, yeah, that was right, good. Thing, oh, that was right. Oh, okay, so I don't know if any of you were counting then. I got it as 8. Did you hear 8? So I got it as 80%. So if I wanted to decide whether I can work on that level with that person, I'd go, that's about right. Because actually now we could go through it again. And when they say think, I can go, yes, excellent. I saw your tongue. Thank, really good. You're using the TH. Thongs, yes, well done. Fought, can I just stop you on that one? Fought, it sounds like you're using F. Could you try sticking your tongue out? Thought, there you go, brilliant. Thick, yes, excellent. Thin, another good one, well done. 30, that's just one more we need to work on. Is that okay? 30, there we go. Thumb, brilliant. Thief, very good. Thing, yes, you got them all right, amazing. Can you see that overall it was very positive and the person really only had thought and 30 to work on, so it's in balance. So this is what I mean by plan. If you've already planned, you've got your 10 words, the speech pathologist might have done a little check like that and said, this is about the right level, okay? Then you can have confidence. So we're starting to go, right, when we have an articulation plan, it's about choosing the sound, but it's also about monitoring as we go. Because clients aren't always going to get it right. They might be having a bad day. And for the speech pathologist, they did get 8 out of 10, but for you, they got 2 out of 10. And your job as the person that's done this course and that's got some background knowledge, your job's to be able to go, well, they're obviously just having a bad day today. So I need to stop. What would it feel like if they were having a bad day and they've reverted back to all the time? Could you say these words for me? Yeah. Think. Oh, that's that one that needs the TH, remember? Oh, yeah. Think. Oh, not quite. Well, we'll move on to the next one. All right. Thank. Oh, okay. Well, let's move on to the next one. All right. Thongs. Oh, could I just stop you there? Could we try and get the... And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to do this. Can you see how it's all wrong, isn't it? And that's at the point where you'd be going 3 out of 10. All right, it's not a good day. Contingency. I tell you what, let's make it easier. I'll say the word. And can you raise your hand if you hear me say it correctly? All right. Think. Yeah, you got that one. Yep. Thank. Yep, that one was right. Thongs. No, you didn't have that one right. Yeah, well done. Thought. Yeah, you got that one. So I've made it an easier task and now it's become positive again. So I've moved down a step. In my plan, I could have written do the TH sound. If they're getting 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, keep getting them to say it. If they're only getting 7 out of 10 or less, I'll say it instead and I'll get them to listen. When we get someone to listen, we call it auditory bombardment. And that'll be written down in a minute. You don't have to write it down. Auditory bombardment or listening is the easiest step. And we all learn from listening. So whenever your client is having a difficult day and you're like, that's it, I give up, then there's always an easier step, and that is you say it all. You do the work. And they just have to listen. Would you agree that in most cases listening would be achievable for people? Have a think about whether that's something you've worked out yourself. That's all right, I'll do it for you and you can listen. So I'm going to show you some extra forms now where you can see the steps we've got there for this planning. Just remember, you're seeing it for the first time. You're seeing it for the first time. You don't have to understand it. And here's the examples. If they get, example 1, if they get 5 right out of 10, go back a step. Example 2, if they get 8 out of 10, stay on that step. Example 3, if they get 10 out of 10, try again. 10 out of 10, try again. 9 out of 10. If we add it up, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, that's like 95%. And if we checked our poster, 95%, 100%, we can move on to the next step. What would the next step be with those TH words? Let's say we're working with Jamie. Jamie, you got everyone right. You remembered your tongue every time. I'm going to have to make it a bit more tricky for you because you're so clever. I wonder if we could say 2 words. I'll say 2 words and you copy me. Ready? Think carefully. And Jamie goes, think carefully. Yes, and you had your TH in think. Well done. Next one, can you say 2 words? Thank you. Thank you. You're remembering, even for 2 words. Really good. Blue thongs. Blue thongs. Oh, let's try that one again, because do you know what? Thongs came second. Blue, tongue ready, thongs. Blue thongs. Try it now, Jamie. Blue thongs. Yes, you got it. See how we've just moved up a step? This is what I mean by moving up and down. At first, that might feel a bit hard. Well, how am I supposed to know how to move up and down? Well, that's what we're going to go through in the topics. But if it's in your plan, you'd look over at your plan that you carried in, thinking, I won't need this. But then you're like, oh, he's not getting it. Or he needs to move on. Oh, he is getting 100%. It says go to 2 words. You might have even written that down. You might have written the words think carefully, thank you, blue thongs. You might have had that written down so that you know what to do. You might work on the sound in isolation. And then you might go to at the start of the word, and then you might go to a sentence. If it's 3 to 5 words, then that's actually a phrase. But we can think of it as a sentence or a phrase. I like to go to the 2 words and then the 3 to 5. So let's say you're working with your client on the 3 to 5 words and he's having a day that's difficult. You might go, I could drop back to 2 words. So if the sentence was go to the shop, you could say, could you just say go shop? It doesn't even have to have the right grammar because it's just an exercise. Or you might say, could you say go to shop? And then when he's getting 8 out of 10 or 9 out of 10, oh, that's really good. And then as he gets 10 out of 10, now you could go back to go to the shop. So you're just finding the level that works. So all of this is in the booklet and will all start to make sense now, I think, as you read through it. But look at this poster here. I would suggest that if you have a printer, that you print this one off. If you don't have a printer and you need help, you can always ring and we can post this to you. But I'd take this with you into a session, or at least have it ready for planning. Because what I've done is I've got the okay, easy, hard chart and I've flipped it upside down, and I've got it so that you can really be sure, so that if you sit down to do a task and they get none of it right, you can straight away go, wow, maybe they can't even do this at all. And it tells you that's the black zone. You need to change to something different, or go right back several steps. You might need to contact the speech pathologist and go, is there something else we can work on? Don't leave it for a month, because if every week you get this out to do the program and every time they get it all wrong, maybe there was an error and the wrong program was sent, so you speak up. I just wanted to draw your attention to the middle. I'm going to put a circle around it. Why have we got 7 out of 10 red and 7 out of 10 green? Well, that's because this is this borderline area where some of your learners will be resilient and they will cope with 7 out of 10. And you can stay on the task. And some learners, they won't cope. So it would be a bit presumptuous of me to say everybody copes at 8 out of 10 and nobody copes at 7 out of 10, because we're obviously all a bit different. And it can even be impacted by whether they're tired or they're sick. Sometimes people will come to a session even though they're sick and you're like, oh, really? Maybe not so much now in COVID times, but if they're sick, their resilience might drop. So you need to use some of your own judgment. Then even have a look down here, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. If the client is tired, having a bad day, even getting one item wrong might upset them. So if they're getting 9 out of 10, but they're really showing you that they're not coping, then maybe they just need to have a yellow day. Maybe you just need to practice the things they can get. Would you agree that we sometimes all like to practice things we can do, and we still can enjoy practicing things we can do? That's called consolidating, isn't it? So it's not a waste. If you had a parent or a caregiver in the room and you're choosing to do the things where the client's getting 10 out of 10, just take a moment to turn to that person and say, I know it might look like this is easy. I know it might look like I'm just getting them to do the things they can, but this is still effective. This is building their confidence. Just in case that person's going, why are they doing what they already can? And I've sometimes had parents, they'll even go, I'm paying for this session and you're just doing stuff they can already do. And I have to point out to them, well, that's because when I try to do something they can't do, emotionally they're not coping. So I'm keeping them in this zone to consolidate. And usually when you do that, the parent will go, oh, right. They just didn't know. It's not that they were being unreasonable. They just didn't know. So part of your responsibility with your plan is, if another adult's watching, is just tell them, this is why I'm doing it. And then you're educating them, aren't you? Yeah. That's not always easy, because the adult might be in their red zone or black zone and they might go, nah, it's good to push him. Nah, can you push him? And then you'll have to go, right. Because it does happen. Yeah. So have a read through that chart. It's all pretty self-explanatory. And I'm going to show you one more concept today. And that is this idea of, when we want to mark if something's right or wrong, clients can react to that. So this page here, which you can come back and look at in more detail, this is bringing up this idea of alpha and beta. See where my cursor's going around? So I'll stop the share so we've got a bigger screen to work with. If any of you ever work in schools, you'll know that they'll look at what you're doing. You'll ask them a question, and then if you do a tick, they'll kind of look over at what you're doing and go, did I get that right? So if you go tick, they'll go, oh, I've got that one right. And then you'll ask them to do something else. Yeah, I got that one right. And then you ask them to do something else. And they'll go, oh, did I get that one wrong? And you're like, oh, Or sometimes they don't speak up, but you see them glancing. How does it make you feel if you see ticks or crosses? Have you noticed in the feedback of your quizzes, I don't put ticks and crosses. I put please check and resubmit, because I'm trying to keep you in your yellow zone or in your green zone. This is role play, okay? This is just role play. Yeah, so
Yep.
could you just count to 10 slowly for me? Just say the first one. One. Could you just count out loud?
One.
No. Try again.
One.
Oh, could you do the next number? Next one.
2.
Yeah, can you keep going?
3.
Yeah.
4.
Yeah, well
5.
done. Yeah, okay. One more.
6.
Okay, to stop. All right. Was that really distracting?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you imagine? So we don't do that. This time I'm going to do some different symbols. Could you say the months of the year just slowly for me?
January, February,
Yep.
March, April, May, June, July, August.
Yeah, that'll
September.
do. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So now I'm using symbols that speech pathologists use, and they're neutral. Now, could you tell which one's right and which one's wrong? Or did it just look like I was just scribbling?
Yeah, I couldn't tell.
Yeah, that's it. So what we do is when something's right, we write alpha. It can look like that. If you've got a piece of paper there, you want to have a try, you can. So some people do it with real little curls. Some people do it like a flat fish. There's my alpha. And that means it's right. And then if it's wrong, you can do a beta. Or if it's wrong, you just put nothing. So alpha is right. Wrong could even just be a dot. But generally, we use the alpha and beta. I wonder if you've ever seen a speech pathologist working in a session and you've seen them doing alphas and betas. So this is just a neutral way. So I suggest that if you're having to mark as you go to get the 10 out of 10, you can use the alphas and betas. And that will stop the client going, because when we do crosses, it's really confronting, isn't it? So that page you can read about there, and it's all about the alphas and betas. And I just want to do this example here with the red shirt going to alpha. So I'll make that bigger. All right, so this little boy is working on word initial position in 2-word phrases. And I've asked him to say red shirt, and he's done that. So I'm going to pretend I'm the boy now, and we'll mark it. So he's gone red shirt, and I've put an alpha. Orange shirt, alpha. Green shirt, alpha. Now he's said black dirt, and I've written a beta. But look what I've also done. I've jotted down what he said, dirt. I've just used my normal spelling. I don't have to change the vowel because it makes sense. It's still So instead of writing shirt, I've written dirt. Okay, can you see that there? Now the next time he said white dirt, and that's what they sometimes do. They try to get it, but they put the wrong sound in. So I want to capture what he did. If I just put beta, I know he didn't get it right, but I'm curious to actually be able to remember that. So I'm actually going to write dirt, just like he said. And then I might put my beta as well. When we got to pink shirt, he said pink dirt. I'm like, oh, he's just used the same as black shirt. Black dirt, pink dirt. So I can just write dirt because that's like my shorthand for all the word was right. It was just the sh was changed to a dirt. Brown shirt, he got that one right, alpha. Purple shirt, oh great, got that one right. Yellow dirt, oh, I can just write the dirt, beta. Blue dirt, there's he's done that funny thing where he's put both sounds. I'm going to write that one out in full, beta. And now I can look and I can add up my alphas to get my percentage. 5 alphas. He got 5 out of 10, 50%. He's in the hard zone. are going to have to go back a step. Get the idea? So alpha doesn't need you to write the word out because they said it right. When they said it wrong, you've got the option of you can write how they said it, and we've been practicing how to jot that down, haven't we? You could write something unusual like sht, try and get it all down. You don't have to have the two H's in sh, but I just did that to illustrate that it was long, sht. Or you could just put the substitution, just put the d. So if you go into Moodle, I've got the audio files there, and you can have a look at those. I'm going to let you do that independently after the tutorial. And if anyone wants to stay on at the end and would like to go through it with me because they find it a bit hard to do that independently, then just let me know, or we can organise a time to do it. But let's see what it would look like if we took this example and we actually had a form. So here's a form, and you could have that form ready. So you've gone into the session and you've put that they're saying sh, word initial position in 2-word phrases, and they're stopping to a d. They're changing to that plosive with the stopped airflow. And you've got your chart all ready, and they say red shirt, and you just come straight over and write the alpha. Orange shirt, you write the alpha. Green shirt, alpha. Black shirt, that's where they said dirt. So you might, under production, you've written it in full, and then you can come and put the beta. White shirt was where you wanted to write that they did shirt, and the result is the beta. Pink dirt, oh, you can just put the dirt. Get the idea? And then at the bottom, you get the percentage. You do this in the session while you're doing the articulation program, and you might even do this near the start to go, yeah, they're not ready for 2-word phrases. If I go back a step, 2-word phrases, got to go back a step. Do you want to make a suggestion what you could go back to? 1 word, yeah, perfect. 1 word, exactly. Yeah, that's it. So Moodle has 3-word lists for you to go through, and I'm really happy to go through it with people that feel that they need a bit of support. There's all ready for you to fill in. And this next page, that's what a record sheet might look like that you can print and have ready. So you could take 4 or 5 of those record sheets into a session with you. Maybe you're going to do one at the start to check that the goal you've got for that day is right. Maybe you'll do one partway through, and maybe you'll do one at the end. And if you're working in with the speech pathologist, you could show these to them. This is great, isn't it? This is keeping a lovely record of what you're doing. You might go, oh, I'm working on this sound, but it really seems to be a bit easy for them. You might do this list, and then you can show the speech pathologist, look, I'm working on that sound and they're getting it 100%. Is there a new goal? Or could I go from 2-word phrases to 3-word phrases? So this simple record sheet enables you to start making some decisions and taking some initiative rather than going, oh, well, I've just been told to do this level and I'll just stick at it. That's why I like to give you these skills, because you can achieve so much if you've just got a bit of an idea and you keep yourself in the yellow and green zones. The last few pages in this booklet, there's actually 3 more. And this is just a summary of the contingencies that we were talking about at the start. And again, I don't need to read this out because it's all quite logical. And in topic 4, I just want you to become aware of contingencies so that once we go to module 2 and I start to talk about contingencies, you've understood that what we mean is it's a plan B. Okay, so there's page 8 to read through. There's page 9 to read through, and have a look. Think of it as a plan A. Plan A is what you go in with. Great. It's the resources you've made and you want to do. Hooray. Plan B is like, oh, they didn't like that. Oh, well, lucky, I've got a spare. I've got something else. There's your plan B. Plan C would be for that client that's really fussy. Yeah, okay, right, I'll try the plan C. some of your clients, you don't need to go in with a plan B or a plan C. All you need is to go in with your plan A, and then a flexible mindset of, if they don't like it, I'm confident I can adjust it. Okay. Some clients don't need much preparation and some clients need a lot. So then you can use your judgment. What's the main goal? And this is the thing I want to just instill in you more than anything. The main goal for you working on the program is keep your client happy, keep your client trusting you, so they want to come back. Actually, isn't that a relief? Does that make you feel like, really? And that's what I tell the speech pathology students. And it's even what I tell new graduate speech pathologists. Whatever happens, if your client never comes back, you can't influence their life. But if your client comes back week after week after week, you can make a difference. So don't worry that you're in the yellow zone and the green zone and it seems all a bit slow. Oh, I thought they'd progress faster than this. As long as they're progressing at their pace and they're trusting you, you can keep making a difference. But the day that you go, right, that's it, I'm revving it up, I'm pushing them, they might never come back. And that happens. So can we finish on that note? Think now about yourself when you knew, I need to stay in my yellow zone or my green zone. And one day you weren't very kind to yourself and you went, okay, I'll do it. And you pushed yourself into red or black. Would you agree they're the things that you go, do you know what? I never went back to that. Yeah. Same with your kids, with your clients. So the good news is with our little kids is they are resilient and they are forgiving. So if you accidentally push them into red or black, probably next time you can, repair things. Adults, not so forgiving. I used to have a 60-year-old gentleman who'd had a stroke. And every week, I'm sure under his breath, he was swearing at me, go away. And his wife wanted me to work with him. And he didn't want it. And, eventually I had to say to her, look, he just doesn't want it. And, she said, come on. So one time I went, all right. And I really pushed him and I really tried, just on the off chance it would work. And he actually swore at me really badly. And I had to leave quite upset. He never wanted me back. We used to ring, oh, is Mr. Richards, that wasn't his name, but pretend. Mr. Richards, would he like to try speech therapy again? No. Yeah. So remember, your job is just to keep the client happy. Feel free to message me or get back in touch with me about an individual catch up. Or see you next week. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.